Hello and welcome back to the PL-SQL course. In this chapter, we're going to talk about functions. In the previous class, if you recall, we talked about stored procedures and how to create them, how to drop them, how to use them and call them. In this class, we're going to talk about functions. A function is also a subprogram which returns a value when it is called, unlike a stored procedure. Functions are stored in the database, or they are declared within a block, within another block of code. What that means is you can declare a function within the declarative section of another stored procedure or a function. We'll see examples of this later on in the chapter. A function is called as part of an expression, which means that a function will be called as part of an assignment statement in a stored procedure, or it can be called from within a select statement. Let's take a look at the syntax for creating a function. We have the create keyword and then we have the optional or replace keywords. If you remember, using or replace will prevent us from having to drop the function each time and recreating it. By using or replace, the compiler understands that it just has to replace the already existing function, and it uses the same space and it uses the same definition, and it'll just change the code within. Okay, so we have create or replace function, and you have a specific function name, and then you have your list of arguments, argument 1, argument 2, etc. And you have the parameter modes of in, out, and in, out. We discussed this in the previous chapter. Now, you would think that a function has a return, right? So why would it have an out? It also has a out option where it can send out values. Okay. Then you have each argument also has a particular type, has to be declared as being a number, a varchar2, etc. After this, you have what is called as the return keyword. So we have return keyword and the return type, which will be again some kind of a data type like a number, a varchar2, an integer, etc. And then you have the is keyword followed by the main block of code, which is begin and end. Now, within this main block, it is required that we have our return statement. This statement will return a value out of the function. So we have return expression, which is going to return either whatever the value to be returned out is. Now remember, this expression within your main block of code should have the same data type as that is declared in the return type within the main declaration. Okay. Let's try and create a simple function. Now here we have our usual anonymous PL-SQL block. I'm going to change this so we can create some kind of a function. Let's say I'm going to use my create or replace keywords, function keyword, and I want to create a function called get count. Okay, here I need to say I'm going to be returning out a value, and this value will be of type number. Okay, now I have my is keyword also in here. Now within my main block, what I would like to return is a count. Okay, I'm going to create a variable called vCount up here. I'm going to take all this out, make it of type number. So I'm going to return the count of records in my emp table. And I do not need a DBMS output here. Also remember, we need to have our return statement. That is a must. So we have return vCount out of here. And our vCount is of type number, which is the same type as was declared in our main creation statement, right? Okay, so let's create this function. So our function is created without any errors. All right. Now let me try and call this function from a select statement. Okay, I will say select get count from dual. All right. And here it is. So that's how you would call a function from within a select statement. All right. Now, what kind of commonality do functions share with stored procedures? Functions can return more than one value via out parameters, just like a stored procedure, right? Functions can accept default values. When we declare arguments, we can specify default values that the arguments can have. Also, function code has the declarative, executable, and exception handling sections, just like a stored procedure. So, when would you choose a stored procedure and when would you choose a function? It depends on how many values the subprogram is expected to return. Now, a good practice is to always use a function if you're returning only one value. It would not be advisable to use the out parameters in a function. It's not good coding practice and it's not usually followed. So when you want to return more than one value out of a subprogram, then you're better off using a stored procedure rather than a function. It also depends on where you're calling your subprogram from. Now, if I was going to call some kind of a call the subprogram from within a select statement, then I cannot call a stored procedure from within a select statement. I would want to use a function. If I want to use the value returned by a function for manipulating some other data from within my select statement, then I would want to use a function rather than a stored procedure. So depending on where you're calling your particular subprogram from, you would want to choose a stored procedure or a function. Also, when you have functions which are being called from select statements, you cannot do any other kind of manipulation, which is insert, update, and delete within that function. So this is something you need to remember. If you want to do insert, updates, and deletes, it is best to use stored procedures rather than functions which are going to be called from within select statements. Okay? Now, let's take a look at how to create local function within a stored procedure. Remember this stored procedure we created in our previous class called empty tails? Now, within this stored procedure, I want to create a function. Okay? I'm going to create a function here. I will not have a create or replace function keyword here. Notice that. Okay? I'm just going to say function. And I'm going to call it get emp count. All right? And it is going to return a number is. All right? It is similar to creating a normal function, except it does not have a create or replace, and also it is created within the declarative section of my normal stored procedure. Okay, now this function.
Thank you for viewing the video. Because of the video size limitation, we cannot post the complete video. Please visit www.learningdom.com to view the remaining video. Thank you.